Yo, 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 yo. What's happening, my peoples out there in the world? Welcome, welcome, welcome to episode 2 of Shaw Talk. We are in here. We are well. I gotta get a sip of water. My voice last time was a little hoarse. Uh, I'm back in action now. Welcome. We're gonna wait a little bit before we get in here. Start diving into the situations. Look, my boy Morty's in here. Hey, Morty, you stay on that side of the screen, my boy. I say what I want over here. he trying to be funny, just so y'all know uh, that the guy who's talking used to play for West Virginia. So we got some athletes in here that's tuning in too. You know, when we started getting into these questions at the end, make sure y'all in here talking. Y'all in here trying to talk smack. Make sure y'all ask some questions toward the end of the show. I'm gonna try to share a couple lives out to everybody while we waiting. If you trying to send it out too, pops, I can try to send it to you. I think the link, if I link it in, I can just there we go. Share, copy link, put it on. Tune in. I got to figure out how to get it to where everybody pops in. Who's a better player, you or your dad? That's what the people want to know. We was different players, so you can't compare us, man. You can't compare us, man. they gonna jump into that one first, huh? As they gonna try to do. They gonna try to get us go against each other. It be your own peoples, man. Be your own peoples. All right. Well, I got it. I got it up. We got everybody in here that's in here so far. Uh, is there anything you want to start off talking about before we get into everything, Pop?
I'm just glad to be here. Appreciate those chiming in. Appreciate you being here as well.
Hey, yeah, we we done went through a whole week. I had my first football game. We ain't get no pictures of nothing. You down here? We should have so for some new social media posts, but we'll figure that out. But got into our first game this Friday. Ended up losing by 2 points, but the boys are getting better, and we gonna turn it up for y'all. So that was my week. But get back to what we came here to talk about us coaching, about us our mindsets, about things we do in the realm, in the world of of high school football and coaching and being a mentor and leader all together. Uh, I guess we'll just get to the first question for real. The first thing that was brought up was when you're building a strong, or yeah, when you're building a team dynamic uh, for a football team, it's crucial to have camaraderie and to have unity within your team. So the first question for you, and I'll chime in as well, is how do you uh, address any potential conflicts or disagreements that arise when you're trying to foster a sense of camaraderie or unity within your football team?
Well, the biggest thing I think is communication. Uh, Being able to have those conversations up front, making sure the door is open to communicate and say what's on your mind. For me, building that culture starts with the coaches. If we don't have that with the coaches, uh, that would trickle down to the team in some aspect because everybody's coaching a position and have a certain amount of young men that they are responsible for. So if that energy from that trickles down to the players, and it usually does, um, what you do with the kids is compromised if the coaches are not on the same page. So, what I try to do in the beginning when we start camp is, and if you remember, we did a lot of journaling and group meetings and just having conversations, not just about football, but just opening the floor up to be able to know one another, get to know one another per se. Being able to just share things that's outside of football with one another is something that builds a level of trust and camaraderie, in my opinion, because some of those sons come from different backgrounds, and being able to put everything on a level playing field, I think is a thing that builds that trust. And it's the same thing with the coaches. Like I said, if the coaches not on the same page and don't trust one another, the kids won't do it either.
Yeah, uh, that's that's one thing. A lot of well, since I've been coaching, I know I didn't coach as long as you did, but with playing ball and being around a lot of different coaches, not every coach really thought about what the players were thinking, especially me playing and how their mindsets were moving forward in the season, or if we got in a down spot and or just the off the field stuff too. Because growing up as a young man in high school and in college and stuff like that, there's not a lot of people to talk to you other than your coaches. So with you
Right.
doing journals and just diving deep into them, uh, getting an understanding of self, because even within that mental part of them breaking down and writing how they feel out and stuff like that, it goes into the same aspect as when I coach. I try to break it down because every kid's not gonna run the same. Every kid's not gonna move the same. Every kid's not gonna do the same thing. But the common goal in your mind is to be on the same page, if
Right.
that makes sense.
Right.
So I have to teach. All right. Well, if your feet don't move this well, then let me teach you how to get closer to what the main goal is. So I think that's a big on the mindset and camaraderie of a team, because you can't have camaraderie within the team if you don't even know yourself yet and how you fit into
Right.
the whole big picture of things, if that makes sense.
That's why the first question every time we started the season and we started the journal was, "Who are you?"
Yeah,
That gave everyone an opportunity to hear the other speak
yeah,
and have a better understanding of what they think about themselves, and also have a chance to reflect on self. And I just didn't do the players that way. The coaches had to go through the same process. So I think when you open the door and you kind of remove these barriers that we see with our physical eyes, and we start to assume someone's way of living, we remove that and we realize that we're all on the same page. We all come from similar backgrounds, different shoes, but ultimately they're still shoes. And being able to remove that so people are not in judgment of one another. Now we can really focus on the common goal, and the common goal is to be the best version of ourselves individually within the team.
yes. And then, well, that leads right into it with all the different athletes and all the different challenges that they face on and off the field. Uh, how do you feel like you support those kids and those coaches as well uh, in in their own personal growth and also with your student athlete, not only their personal growth but their athletic growth as well. How do you I guess present yourself in that manner?
Well, once again, it goes back to relationships, and if you don't know them and don't build, if you refuse to build a personal relationship and get to know them outside of football, you'll never know those things. And being able to build confidence in one another is based on relationships and understanding who you're talking to. Coaches as well. So just spending that time when it's time to spend that time. And that means this everything is about timing. I never force, anytime one of my sons was ready to grow, we had conversations. Anytime there was a coach that wanted to grow, we had those conversations. I've always kept the door open and allowed them to allow their own process to get them to a place to be able to receive and grow. So but you got to have relationships. You got to spend that time. It's not about just football and then you go home. You know, spending time outside of football together is a big key as well. Fellowship together, sitting down eating together. You know, we ate on Sundays when we met. You know, we didn't just talk about football. When I interview coaches, I really don't talk about football. I talk about where they're from, who they are, get to know them on a more personal level, so I can understand or I can make a choice on whether they fit into the program or not. Uh, you know, I'm a grower myself. I like to grow. I am also a grower of others. I want them to grow, but everyone is different. That's why it's so important that you get to know them personally.
Yeah, what shoot? Can you to elaborate on that? Can you share some of the strategies and techniques that you use to keep the players motivated and focused throughout the season?
It the strategies were based on them wherever they are. You know, if I need to stop practice, say that for instance, I need to stop practice and get their attention. I'm gonna stop practice and get their attention. Or if I need to just allow things to go to see what leaders show up. I did a lot of that. I just sat back and just observed and watched. So the player and the coaches are the indicators of what strategies I use. I don't know if there's such things as strategies, but it was more of just talking to them where they are, meeting them where they are, having those conversations. Uh, I would throw things in practice that would disrupt. We print out a practice schedule. I might throw something in practice that's outside of the box.
Yeah,
I love sudden change, and that's what I called it. You know, if we get to a place where we're always in a routine of doing things, we're not present in the moment. And I tried to create my strategies were to put you present, to make you come present, make you come forward, to be in the moment. If we're not in the moment every day in practice, how can we be in the moment in the game? If you're not present in the game, you can't make adjustments. You can't make corrections. You can't players can't receive that information if they're not present. And just trying to deconstruct some of the belief systems to where they can be open minded to grow. I mean, if that's a strategy, that's
yeah. So within those strategies, do you think there was any technique or anything that you tailored to your approach toward the different types of players, or do you think you just commonly just put it out there, or did it did it vary? Should I say?
that that was a foundation of what needed to be done. But I approached everybody wherever they are. That's why those relationships are so more important because you can't talk to everybody the same. Everybody don't process the same way. Everybody don't hear the same way. So I might say something 100 times. 100 different ways, depending on who I'm talking to. So, being patient enough and being present myself, I believe gave me the ability to be able to communicate. And a lot of times, communications is not about what you know; it's about how they receive, and how they receive is an indication of how you approach.
Yes.
So, and everyone is different, and by doing that, it builds trust, it builds accountability. Some you had to be hard on, some you had to be not soft, but you had to come with a different approach. And, understanding, the level of where they came from and some of the coping skills that were created in their years before they came. Even the coaches the same way. You have to understand those things to communicate successfully.
Yeah. We actually had who just said somebody just said something in the chat. How did you what to say? What do you do about laziness at practice?
Well, laziness is not a part of. There's one pet peeve I have, and that's no excuses. If you have excuses, that creates laziness and complacency. So that's one thing that I do not deal with is excuses because what I've been through in my life. If I made excuses, we wouldn't be talking right now. I wouldn't have been able to accomplish some of the things I've accomplished if I used my past as an excuse not to go forward. I'm gonna say that one more time. Using my past as an excuse not to go forward. And I think that is the thing that creates other problems down the road, especially for these young men. That's one thing that I wanted to drive home. You cannot make excuses. No matter where you came from, that doesn't matter because you have to be present in the moment. That's why that's so important. So in order for you to grow and move forward, if you're always in the past, that creates your future. And that's one of the things that I tried to remove.
Yeah. That I agree with that, but I want add on to it is that your relationships you have with these kids too as coaches help with that as well because
Absolutely.
a lot of the kids, like you said, everybody receives things differently. Three coaches could say the exact same thing to the same kid, and that kid takes that same message three different ways. So
Mm-hmm.
understanding that the people you work with, understanding uh, the 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 young men and the young adults you have around you, and how to delve within what the situation is a big part of everything to me, and that makes them move how you want them to move, but it's not only how you want them to move, but also how they how they sh-
Can move.
how they can move. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
when you put all that together, it sounds complicated, but at the end of the day, it's really not if everybody is willing to collaborate. And like you said before, everybody not everybody knows everything, and for you to have as many experiences that you've had as a coach, as a player, as a mentor, as a leader, and mine the same way, and all the coaches that are within the staff, everybody got those different things. But when you put all those pieces together, and everybody's open minded, and you start putting them together to where, dang, well he didn't have this part of it, so boom, we putting him in there, and this coach didn't have this, and boom, and now all of a sudden this picture's becoming clearer and clearer as you go along. So if it's getting clear for not only the adults to see it, the kids will see it.
Absolutely.
And once the kids see it, that's when they want to run through a brick wall for you. That's when they want to do the right things. That's when they see that you really care about what they got going on, and not just it's football. Yeah, it's football. We trying to win games. We trying to do the technique, but it's more than that. It's what we're teaching you here really really goes on in real life, And if
Absolutely.
you can start to handle it on the football field, you definitely can handle it in real life. Because football is a game. Real life is not. So you take some of those mindsets and those things into real life. You you can maneuver a lot more fluid, should I say? So
God has a great sense of humor, and every year there's a new puzzle that has to be put together. Every football season, there's a puzzle that has to come together, and everybody has a valuable piece in that. And when we start to embrace who we are, we can embrace the piece of the puzzle that we are, and we operate and come together because one individual don't know everything. But when you put a puzzle together, it's kind of hard to be able to disrupt that because there's a lot of solutions in that because of everybody's personal experience. So everybody has value, and it can't. Coaches have to understand it's not about you because the responsibility that we have in mentoring young men because we're helping them transition into manhood, whether they have a father in a home or not. That doesn't matter. Your responsibility and your obligation is to lead and guide in a manner to where they're successful, not just on the field, off the field. And we did a lot of different things at Lafayette. You know, the community work that we did was very important because when you serve your community, it serves you back. But that's teaching them relationships, that's teaching them skills, that's teaching them to go out and have a conversation with anyone and everyone. And those were the things. Yes, we work hard in practice. We're gonna bust our butt in the weight room. We're gonna do all those things from a physical standpoint when it comes to football. But without the mental toughness, the physical piece has no bearing on anything. And when we start to understand the psyche of a person, their mindset, their belief system, we can add to that or we can help them build on that and create something different to be successful. And so our responsibility as coaches is so important because it's not about wins and losses, and it's surely not about the coach.
yeah, yeah. That was one of the questions while you was talking just now. Was you kind of got into it was what about if they have attitudes?
But everybody has an attitude.
Yeah, everybody got something.
So I look at attitudes like this. Attitudes are an extension of a belief system. It's an extension of what they've been through. It's an extension of trauma. It's an extension of a lot of different things. An attitude as a coach you cannot take personally. Our job is redirect behavior. We're going to redirect that so they can see how this behavior is not conducive to their success. So in that, we have to be in a place where we're comfortable in our own skin, not to take things so personal because behaviors are a representation of trauma and belief systems. So you can't really take that as personal. You have to take that for what it is. And when someone gives you attitude, they're really asking for help. And we have to be in a place to where we can do that because once we meet that player, this young man where they are, and we make it safe for them to open up, you'll realize why they have this attitude. Now you can redirect the behavior. Now you can add and help them gain other coping skills where they can be successful.
Yes. Um, sorry, it's getting a lot more active than it was last time we was in here. So I'm trying to make sure we getting everybody's questions in. I know it's kind of not the format that we did before, but I like it as we go along. Take and roll with the punches. How we got it. But so we'll get on to the next one. What advice would you have any other parents or children who are considering to coach together?
I think I believe it's a great thing. Where there's some reservations about you and I coaching, when I start to think about and then start to approach, Yeah, there was some thoughts. There was some thoughts where, is he gonna be? Will he still be able to grow, or will this cause some discord because now he's a coach and not a player? Uh, but those quickly went away. I think the benefit in having you on staff with me was that you was an extension of me, and I was able to let go of some things and allow you to step in those places. So it removed a couple of hats from me. The way I ain't had to wear all these other hats, you were able to step in because you live with me, you understand me. I don't have to worry about how you receive what I say to you. And I've never worried about that in a sense with anyone else. However, um, just being able to have another voice that speaks the same language, per se, was very beneficial. I think uh, the cons to it is that the relationship with that father and that son, or a mother and daughter that decides to coach in other sports, no matter who it is, I think the relationship has to be an honest, strong relationship to be able to do it. Because if it's not strong, there's going to be some conflict, and the conflict becomes we all have an ego. Uh, but if the relationship wasn't strong enough to where you were able to communicate and listen to one another, that's going to cause some problems. But you and I, we didn't agree on everything, and we weren't supposed to, because you have a different mindset. You have a different, not a different mindset, you had a different perspective on how you receive information. So I had to be cautious and understanding and really be patient with that, because even you live with me and raised up under my roof and all those things, you've been out in the world and had some experiences. So being patient, I had to be, because you done learn some other things. And to be able to use that, because that was great value that you learned some other things outside of me, I wanted to tap into those things and learn those. But you have to be patient. But I wouldn't, like I told you last week, I wouldn't trade it for nothing in the world. And I appreciate having the opportunity to be not just your father, but to help you grow to be what it is that you want to be in one day, and that's a head coach, and you will be that. So for me, I didn't have any problems. I can see the downfall for some others if the relationship is not strong.
Yeah, well, that was that for me. That was it was it was interesting because
I'm laughing at one of these comments.
oh, when the comments pop up, oh, well, we'll answer that in a second. Uh, for me, coaching with you was was uh, eye opening in two different ways. Eye opening in seeing what what you had to do in the outside of us being at home, but also eye opening in the fact of how does your demeanor and how do you do things? Because I know you did similar things at home, but how do you run a team? How do you run a system? How do you get all these other people behind you? And then when it came down to it, when you really think about it, it's kind of like being a politician. It's kind of like trying to be the president. You got to get your community around you. You got to get your people that hold up the little signs, shawl for coach and all the other stuff. Then you gotta get your little minions behind you, which is your players and stuff, to where the people really, you gotta get people to believe in what your goal is and what you need to do as the lead of them, because you weren't just, yeah, you were the lead, but you had a whole bunch of people following behind you, and watching that was really amazing to see. As and even I coach now. I've coached under two different head coaches, and their ways are a little different than yours as well. But at the same time still similar because they have to get the community behind them. They have to get the parents and kids to believe in what their main goals are, and not saying that everything that you said or they say or any head coach period as the years go on, even for me playing in college, everything that you say probably is not gonna come true. Not everything, but your main glue of what you want to happen, and if everybody hops on board, that usually happens the way it's supposed to, no matter
Absolutely.
how it goes. Now, there's some people embellish stuff, some people don't. But sometimes you gotta say that there's gonna be some sprinkles and rainbows over here for you to get some of the things that you need to make what you want to work.
Right.
And it just comes with it. It's just that's life. That's real. That's how you think they get all these kids to come to their school in college. They gotta tell them there's something there. We got unicorns and cotton candy waiting for you in the dorm room. You know what I'm saying? So we you gotta say something to get it going, especially when you go from winning a whole bunch of games to being down a little bit to it's never the same unless you are somewhere where you know for fact that you're gonna get everything you need
Well,
every year.
I know this. God has been very, very present in this whole process. And I'm not changing the platform. The platform is still the same. And I don't think a lot of people understand where my strength comes from. My strength doesn't come from me. It comes from God because God has given me some talents to be able to use to help others. I remember when I first took over the program, and I was in the parent meeting, when I first took it over officially as a head coach. I got head coach by my name now. I was in a parent meeting, and I started talking about what the plan going forward, which is really the same plan that I had when I was there. And that was this, and that was to play for a state title. And I said, we will, just like we used to have this chant, we will win. I said in the parent meeting, we will play for a state title. And some people looked at me like I was crazy. Even some of the coaches and some of the players, some of the parents, they was looking at me like, you crazy. So then the first year we go 3-8. Second year we go 8-3. And then here we go. And what I believe, what's laid in my spirit is laid in my spirit. And what I believe is what I believe, and no one can change that. So my goal was to be consistent, to be present, and allow the process to take care of itself. I know all coaches want to win a state title. I know that. I know that's part of the process for coaches. But when you put a plan in place, or you try to bring and build a culture of success, and the success is really not based on wins and losses. The success is based on how does each and every one of your sons feel in this program about themselves. Now, I say that to say this. I lost some along the way, and everyone I lost hurt me dearly, because those were my sons. You said this last week, I call everybody my son. I mean that. I don't say that because it sounds good, because they are, because I am the daddy. That's just me. I am the protector. I did a lot of things outside of football, going to people's houses and having conversations, or dealing with death and grief and dealing with whatever the case may be. Those things were very important to me because it also built a sense of trust and safety. Uh, Being able to know that someone has your back. I was raised without a father. Now, I met my father. My daughter Erica was 19. I met my father when she was 5. I talked to him today a little bit, but I was raised without a father. So I know how it feels to be alone. I know how it feels to deal with adversity alone. You know, my mother didn't come to a game until my senior year, and I played in an All-Star game because my mother was in and out of prison just about all my life. So for her to come to a game was exciting to me. But I had a lot of moments when I was young where I was by myself. So my goal was never to replace anyone or any of that. It was to be there, especially for these males to understand that it is okay to be vulnerable, but be strong at the same time because we're all broken. We're all weak. We all go through things. We all have struggles. But to create a platform, to create a place where each and every one of those sons of mine, from year in year out, has a place to come and just be vulnerable and just let it out. And that was always the goal. And those, I remember one player in particular, he wasn't on the football team yet, but you know, at Lafayette, I dealt with all the behaviors. So I had to go break up a fight. And this kid was just tearing this other kid up. And I had to put my hands on him. And he kind of looked at me like, "You putting your hands?" Yeah. But I did it in a manner where he felt safe. And he just kind of melted in my arms. And then after we started talking, he joined the football team and became a very valuable piece to the pause of that year. The years that he was on the team. He was on the team for 3 years. And to still be able to have a conversation with him to this day, this was over 10 years ago, to have those conversations with these players, my sons that played for me years and years ago, that's what it's all about to me, because they know they have an outlet to be able to reach out to be able to have conversations and still uh, look for growth and advice to be able to grow and be the best version of themselves. So that's what it's about. I mean, it was very, very important.
Yeah.
Even when the times when we were low and didn't win games, and I all this stuff going on in the environment around me, people saying this, people saying that, that didn't matter to me because my goal, my purpose, and my why I was there was for what it looks like for them 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Yes, I'm the most competitive person you meet. I want to win games. I want to win state titles. But that was a byproduct of the foundation of the program. And that was making sure that each child that came through there, each one of those sons had, it was better when they, before they came, when they left, it was better. The experience helped them grow and become better in life. So that's what the goal was about for me.
Yeah, that that was kind of tough sometimes being on the side, being separating that I'm assistant coach and I'm your son. So there was there were certain times where I would see and hear people basically attacking you, attacking what you got going on, and me growing up and saying in my head, all right, I have to be a professional first, especially in this workspace. Now, if it had came down to it, whatever we needed to do, we had handled whatever we needed to do. But but for the most part, uh, that that didn't really follow us around. People at the end of the day, a lot of people said what they said, but when they ended up seeing what the end result was, or what really your goal and what your motivation was, they kind of couldn't say anything else. Uh, they could mumble and do what they please, but the product of what you said and what you wanted to accomplish was it is what it is and was what it
Right.
was. So um, uh, I see one of the questions was, how do you express yourself or express your ideas while being a new young head coach? Uh, I'll let you say something about it, but for me, and moving on and within the coaching and starting off as a position coach and getting to be a coordinator and getting to do those things, the 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 biggest thing to being a young head coach is being the best support you can be for whatever whatever coach you're underneath, if that makes sense. From OC to DC to your head coach, whatever you need to do as a young coach, if you put yourself out there and you do the little things, if you do the things that you need to do to show that you are invested in what's going on. Yes, you're not going to agree with everything the DC and OC or head coach has to do or wants to do, but you can learn from those things no matter what. That's one thing my pops always told me was whether it's good, bad, or whatever information you get, you can pick the things that you can use at the moment. But don't forget those other things. You put them in the bank because later on it might pop up like, that happened back in yo, and you get what I'm saying? And you can get out the box that, this is what's going on. So understand that as a young coach, you are a support system, and you have to pretty much do what those people want you to do. But it's not saying that you have to conform to where that's all you know now. You get what I'm saying? Because when you are a young coach, the way I used to think about it is, how would I want my assistant coaches to be? How would I want my assistant coaches to help me out if I was in a funk, or if I was doing or needed some type of extra advice or boost or whatever, you get what I'm saying? Now, me personally, I would do whatever I needed to do. You get what I'm saying? And for everybody that knows me as a coach, I'm good with talking to the kids, and I'm good with figuring out stuff and finding the flow of things. But everybody knows that I'll put on my cleats. Not every coach can put on their cleats and get out there. But I saw a clip today on Twitter. Pete Carroll's old, but he's still out there throwing. He's in the NFL coaching. He out there throwing 7-on-7 with NFL guys. So your connection with not just the players, but the connection with the coaches as well is how you become strong. Because as a strong group of coaches leading a group of young men makes those young men even more strong to follow you guys to whatever you guys need to do. And it keeps the morale up, whether it's win, lose, draw, whatever it is. They still going to fight for you. They still going to go have your back when you need it, no matter what the outcome of what's going on is. So that's my little spiel on being assistant or young coach.
I think for a young coach that's getting involved, whether they want to become a head coach one day, I think one of the biggest things is, first, you need to ask yourself why you want to be a coach. And the answer to that drives everything else. And if that answer to that question is to be the best version of yourself, that means that drives you to help not just the players you coach, but the other coaches to be the best version of themselves. And truly the only way to do that is to be a sponge and listen and be present. Kick the ego at the door and go in there and learn. Whether you believe in what they saying or not, there's always value in those moments. And if you become a sponge, you become friendly. You become an ally. You don't become an enemy. And head coaches are looking for allies. They're looking for people that they can trust. If your ego is bigger than your experience, per se, or is your ego bigger than whatever the case may be, that's going to turn a head coach off. That's going to make you're going to become an enemy instead of an ally. So for a young coach, it's all about learning. Whether your IQ is high or not, it doesn't make a difference. A young coach has to be a sponge and become an ally. Kick the ego to the door and understand why they're there. Because it can't be about them. It has to be about the growth of the program, of young men, and how you can support the head coach in that growth. That's the purpose of it anyway. So kicking that ego to the doors what needs to happen if you, as a young coach, and you want to coach.
100% agree with that. Well, we're gonna get into the last question of the second episode, y'all. I appreciate everybody's joining in, and we're gonna answer any questions that are asked after this. But I want to end this conversation off with a question that a lot of people think about and don't really get answers, or I won't say get answers, but won't get a straight up answer out of a lot of people, because people are trying to maneuver their way around the coaching world. But in your opinion, and I'll give mine as well, but in your opinion, how does the role of a high school football coach evolve over the years? And how do you adapt your coaching methods to the change of the landscape of these young men?
I think the role of a coach has evolved because of what's going on in the environment, what's going on with these generation of kids. And your coaching style has to evolve and grow as well. The way you coach 5 years ago can be the way you coach now, because the kids are different, the environment is different, and you have to be aware of that. And yes, there's a foundation. Every coach has a foundation. I'm not saying abandon the foundation. However, you have to be flexible and be willing to grow, and the only way to grow is get to know the kids that you're coaching. So that changes every year. And if you want to keep up with that and be a great coach, you got to be present. You have to be present in the moment. Year in and year out, you have to be present, because the same kid you coach as a freshman now as a senior, I'm 100% sure that kid is different. Something is different. The challenges of this generation, it changes from day to day, year to year. So just being present, having that open dialogue, keeping that door open. Yes, you want to hold your players accountable, and yeah, there's consequences for actions. But if the consequences lead the relationship, there's no relationship. So understanding that, I think it has become more important that coaches understand what their role really is. Yes, develop their skill set. Those that want to go to college, develop their skill set. Those that don't want to go to college, you develop their skill set. You develop their strengths, and you help them identify their weaknesses, so their weakness is not their weakness anymore. So you want to build the player up. That's your responsibility. That's your goal as a player. However, it's bigger than that, because if you don't get the personal relationship and the personal buy-in from them, they're just gonna cruise through it and really not grow as a person if you don't really address that.
Yeah. For me, I really think that it's big that all coaches are collaborative of each other. And when I say that, like you said, it's always the purpose of coaching and having the main focus of what you want done, but understanding too that football has evolved. Football has changed significantly through when you played to when I played to now, to where I know, and I ain't trying to tell everybody that you old or whatever, but you back in the day you could chop a mug in the throat and probably get away with it. you get
No comment.
you could do different things. It was more violent, should I say? Not saying that it hasn't. The game's still very violent. The game's still very fast. The game's still very unique in a lot of different ways. But
right.
Sometimes there's some coaches that that they played in that era that they think that, oh, this is how these kids are gonna be, and this is how we got to get them tough, and this is how that's that's not how that goes now. Now, in my age, I was the halfway. We started off like that, and then it started to started to get a bit more. Oh dang, we passing the ball around, we throwing it all over the place, and you know what I mean. And it's not a lot of smash mouth, but we were taught smash mouth at the beginning, so it was still tough to play, you know.
Right.
And then now it's starting to get into a lot of. I'm not gonna say it's 7-on-7, but it we got a lot more skilled players out there that are running around catching the ball and doing a lot more things that you wouldn't expect from the old school punch you in the mouth type players. So you have to know that you have to adapt to where you at, because even it goes to the regions of where you at. If you in the cities, if you in certain parts of the country, it might be more pass. But then when you go into the mountains or you go deep down south to where they're like, you know what, we still believe in, we're gonna punch you in the mouth, and
Right.
and that's how they play ball. So as a coach, moving throughout your coaching career, you have to learn those different aspects of coaching so you can implement whatever you need to implement when it's time to do it. You get what I'm saying?
What does that sound like to you?
What
What are you
sound?
really talking about? Are
I
you
don't
talking
know. What
about
am I
football? Or
talking
are you
about?
talking about life?
I'm talking about everything.
Because that's life. Life evolves. Everything in life changes. The way it was 5 years ago might be different now.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be able to be flexible. You got to be able to adjust.
Yeah, you definitely correct about that. You gotta adjust in anything, and that's why I wanted to end the questions that we were doing on that question, because uh, you you adjust, you adapt, you try not to harp on things you can't control. Control what you can control, and keep it pushing as best as you can. And that's not saying that you're not gonna have feelings. That's not saying that you're not gonna have thoughts. That's not saying that you're not gonna feel a certain type of way. But you you got you have to uh, push through, and the more resilient you can be as an individual, the easier it is to get through things that are tough, because you build this mindset, and it helps you, not only you get yourself through, but it also helps other people that grab onto your coattail. You end up helping them through as well. So um,
I agree 100%, son.
so that was the end of our little Q&A question, and we're going on with between me and you. So anybody that's in the chat right now that's been in here listening so far, we appreciate y'all coming to Shaw Talk. We're gonna do this every Sunday, but we have a few minutes at the end of this. Y'all can ask us whatever y'all want, and we're willing to answer any question that you got. Oh, wait a minute, we got one popped up. Said, what is the most important thing to do to play at the next level? That was one of the questions.
What's the most important thing to do?
What are the most important things to do to play at the next level?
I think as you progress in anything, the level of focus, the level of commitment that goes into being the best version of yourself, it boils down to that. You know, the league, if you're talking about going to the NFL, I mean, the league is not just about D1 5-star players. The league is about the underdog that plays at the D3 school or NAI or wherever the case, lower levels. The level of commitment and resilience and determination uh, is what got them there. And God has blessed them with some talent as well. Uh, but being able to overcome is the thing I think that gets you to the next level. Because there's going to be days you don't want to train. There's going to be days you don't want to do this and days you want to do that. But pushing through that and doing it anyway. Doing the things that you really don't want to do uh, so you can do those things, don't have to do those things later. I think that's key, just being determined and don't allow someone to tell you who you are. You can't listen to the peanut gallery. You can't listen to your environment that you're in that tells you that you're not good enough. And to be the best version of yourself, you have to stop listening to the lies that are told to you. Because every athlete's been told, no, you ain't gonna make it. You ain't gonna do this. You ain't gonna do that. And blah 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 blah. On the job, when it's time for a promotion, you're not good enough. You don't have the skill set, or you're overqualified, which is a slap in the face saying that you're not good enough. Being able not to pay attention to that and not to take those things personal, because anyone that talks about anyone else is really talking about themselves. So keeping that in mind, I think your level of blocking out that noise, the peanut gallery, is the key to get you to the next level.
Yeah. And just to add my little 2 cents to that, I like to I'm big on analogies, how I get get my points across sometimes, so you can really understand what I'm saying. Uh, I treat not just football but life and all that. I put it as you're a boxer. If you're a boxer, you think every boxer goes out there and it's like, hey, I ain't gonna get hit and I'm just gonna hit them. No. They gotta go. They gotta spar. They gotta lift weights. They gotta jump rope. They gotta do that. But they gotta feel what that feels like to get hit on the chin.
Yeah.
They got to. Cause if they don't know what that feels like, what Mike Tyson say? He said everybody gotta play it until they get punched in the face, or punched in the mouth. It's the same thing with life. You gotta get punched in the mouth a couple times. You gotta know what that feels like, so you know what to do when it happens.
You gotta know how to get knocked out in order to be able to get up. Because without being knocked out, you just cruise, you become complacent. So, when I look at things in my life, over my life, all the valleys in my life have great value, because without them, I wouldn't know what the top of the mountain looks like.
Yeah,
You got to have both of them. If you don't know what the valley is, how you know if you're on the top of the mountain?
exactly.
So everything has value, and everyone needs to understand that and just embrace and learn from it.
Yeah,
So can't listen to the peanut gallery. Say you go 0 and 10, and there's some years where we did that at Lafayette, and I heard all this, but I couldn't pay attention to that because my ultimate goal is bigger than 0 and 10. My ultimate goal was bigger than 13 and 5 or 13 and 2. My ultimate goal was bigger than that. My ultimate goal was what it looks like for them down the road. Or if I if that wasn't my goal, I would have got caught up in the environment, and there's no telling what would have happened. I would have put some people in despair if I paid attention to what people said. And that's not who I am.
yeah. Well, it's come to the end of episode 2. We got he done lost the string, popped out. Well, Pops popped out of here real quick, so I'm gonna go to the just chatter. Uh, I appreciate everybody that slid through. He must have, you know, uh, lost connection or something. But for everybody, we're gonna be doing this again on next Sunday at 5 o'clock. Everybody that's tuned in, I appreciate everybody that showed love. Make sure you subscribe. Yeah, help people with technology. Uh, Make sure you check me out. You go to gurumain9.com. You go to all the social medias. You'll see everything that we got up. We go live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You get to see me and my pops. If you want to learn how to make your own website, go to the bottom of my website. It's Game Philly Academy, and put in Guru May 9 as the code, and you can get that done yourself. And we hope to see you next week. I can let me see if he's popped back in here real quick before I slide out. There he goes. There he goes. There we go. I didn't want to say bye before you got back out.
Got to be able to adjust.
You got to be able to adjust. You see how I split screen real quick. We had people in here talking to you before we got out of here. But I give my little shout outs to my GuruMay9.com. Go check that out. Pops, you got any plugs or shout outs you want to do before we get out of here?
No. I'm just grateful that those that came and shared this time with us. I'm grateful for them and pray that they continue to do that and share it with others. The more we have in here will make this thing even more powerful, because the goal is to help those that are looking for guidance and assistance and help. So that's what this is about, and we're going to do it out of love because it's all about love.
Yeah, we're going to get better and better each time. You know, you never know what we're going to do. We're going to figure it out. Next thing you know, we might be floating or something. You know? But, hey, I appreciate everybody. Hope to see you next Sunday on Shaw Talk, baby. Peace.
Peace.